Unit 3, Lesson 4, Divide Decimals by Decimals. Simplify the fraction with a factor of 10. If we have 30 over 500 and we divide the top by 10, we get 3. And so we have to divide the bottom by 10, which gives us 550. I'm so sorry. So what we do to the top, we do to the bottom. We have to keep it proportional when changing our fractions. But a fraction isn't just a fraction. It also means divide. So if we have 30 as our dividend and 500 is our divisor, if we simplify them both by 10, then we get 50 and 30. Same thing with decimals. Our denominator cannot be a decimal. Well, really, we can't have decimals in fractions, but we're not considering this a fraction. This is a division problem. So if we multiply our denominator by 10, then we have to multiply our numerator by 10, which gives us 3/10 on top and 5 on the bottom. So that's the same thing if it's set up as long division. We change the divisor the same as our denominator. So we had 5/10 as our divisor or our denominator, and we're going to move it once to the right to make it a whole number, 5. So that means we move our decimal in our dividend one time to make 3/10, and then we float our decimal up. Let's look at an example. If we want to make the divisor a whole number, then we move our decimal to the right until our divisor is a whole amount. Then we move the decimal in your dividend the same amount of times as in your divisor. And then finally float the decimal up to the quotient. Let's practice. We have 1 and 71/100 divided by 9/10. Our divisor cannot be a decimal, it needs to be a whole number. So we move it one time to the right. And if we move the decimal in our divisor one time to the right, then we move the decimal in our dividend one time to the right. Then float the decimal up to the quotient. Now we divide. 9 goes into 17 one time, giving us 17 minus 9. Which equals 8. Drop your 1. And then 9 goes into 81 9 times. 9 times 9 is 81. Subtract, we get 0. So our answer is 1 and 9/10. So if you had $1.71 and you split it up into piles of 90 cents, then you would have one pile of 90 cents and you would have 9/10 of a pile of 90 cents. 52 divided by 4/10. 4/10 needs to look like a whole number. So we move the decimal in our divisor one time. And we don't see a decimal in our dividend of 52, but we know that it's at the end and we can move it one time to the right, and then we float our decimal up, but that reveals a 0. Now we divide. 4 goes into 5 one time. 1 times 4 is 4. Subtract that, you get 1. Drop your 2. 4 goes into 12 3 times. 3 times 4 is 12. Subtract that, we get 0. But we are not finished because we still have another decimal place value we still have a place value before the decimal. So drop your 0. 4 goes into 0 0 times. Subtract that, and we're done. Our next example, our answer there is 130. So if we had $52 and we wanted to play an arcade game that was 40 cents, we could play that game 130 times. Our next example is 9/1000 divided by 18/100. So 9/1000 is our dividend, 18/100 is our divisor. We need to move our decimal once and then twice to make this a whole number, 18. And so in our dividend, we move our decimal once and then twice, and then we float it up into the quotient. So 18 goes into 9 0 times. We reveal a 0. 18 goes into 90 5 times. 5 times 18 is 90. Subtract that, we get 0, and we're done. Our answer is 5 hundredths. My apologies for not putting it up there. In the next problem, it says 4 friends went out to dinner. The total bill was $65.48. If the friends decide to split the bill evenly, how much did they each pay? Our $65.48 is our dividend. That is what we're splitting. And the divisor is 4 because it's divided by 4 friends. And then we divide. 4 goes into 6 one time. 1 times 4 is 4. Subtract that is 2. Drop your 5. 4 goes into 25 6 times. 6 times 4 is 24. Subtract, we get 1. Drop your 4. 4 goes into 14 3 times. 3 times 4 is 12. Subtract, we get 2. Drop your 8. 4 goes into 28 7 times. 7 times 4 is 28. Subtract that, we get 0, and we're done. So each of the 4 friends would pay $16.37.